Maybe if we look up the death certificate for Phil Jackson, we'll find who was the father. His father's name was Mars. That's familiar. Mars lives. Isn't that amazing? When I was writing the script for She's Gotta Have It, I was stuck for the name of the character. And I called my grandmother up and I said, I need a name. And she came with this Mars. I remember vaguely her saying she had a crazy uncle named Mars. She probably said she had a crazy grandfather named Mars. And it fit because Mars in the film is crazy. I've always known that my grandmother Zimmy's family came from the city of Dublin in Lawrence County, Georgia. So I'm going there to see if I can find out more about her grandmother Lucinda, who was born into slavery.
Spike knows his grandmother Zimmy Retha's father was called Philip Jackson, and his mother was Lucinda Jackson. He knows that Lucinda, his great-great-grandmother, was born into slavery. But what more can he find out?
If I could find Lucinda's death records, it might tell me more about her life. Melvin Collier is an expert in African-American genealogy. He's going to help me search through the records at the Lawrence County Library. I need to find out the year that Lucinda died. How we can do that?
Okay, here on Ancestry.com, we're gonna look at the Georgia death records, and then we'll go from there. Put in Lucinda Jackson. See what we find. We have several Lucinda Jacksons. Let's see if we find one for Lawrence County.
There it is.
There it is. We have a death date. May 13th, 1934. So now, since we have a death date, we're gonna see if we can find an obituary for her.
Melvin and I are going through old Dublin newspapers from around the time of Lucinda's death. Put black people in the obituary, though?
It wasn't often, but sometimes, people may, get lucky and find their ancestor in the newspaper. Okay, hold on, stop. I saw something. May 13th, 1934.
There it is.
There it is.
Colored news. The passing of Mrs. Lucinda Jackson, my great-great-grandmother. Mrs. Jackson survived by 3 sons. 3?
Oh, she had 3 sons. Wow.
Isaac Jackson, Philip Jackson of the city, and Wilson Jackson of Jeffersonville.
Along with his great-grandfather, Philip, Spike now knows Lucinda had 2 more sons, Isaac and Wilson. But there's no mention of their father in Lucinda's obituary. So who was Mr. Jackson?
This would be considered a genealogical gold mine to find your great-great-grandmother who was once enslaved. Now she has an obituary in the paper. Amazing.
Yeah.
Spike Lee is on a mission to uncover his family's slave past. His search has led him to Dublin, Georgia, where he has just found his great-great-grandmother, Lucinda Jackson's obituary.
There it is.
But it didn't list her husband's name, only the names of her 3 sons.
Well, maybe if we look up the death certificate for Phil Jackson, we'll find who was the father. His father's name was Mars. That's familiar. Mars lives. Isn't that amazing? When I was writing the script for She's Gotta Have It, I was stuck for the name of the character. And I called my grandmother up and I said, I need a name. And she came with this Mars. I remember vaguely her saying she had a crazy uncle named Mars. But she probably said she had a crazy grandfather named Mars. And it fit because Mars in the film is crazy. That's insane. My great-great-grandfather's name was Mars. So if Lucinda was born a slave, definitely Mars was born a slave. So now we gotta find out who is Mars.
Spike is heading to the Georgia State Archives just south of Atlanta on the trail of his great-great-grandfather, Mars Jackson. He's meeting historian Mark Schultz.
Gotta find my great-great-grandfather, Mars Jackson, was born a slave.
All right.
I know who owned him.
Okay, we'll see what we can find here today. Let's see what we get if we have an open search with Mars and residence Georgia. Something here. There's Mars Woodall in Twiggs County.
Woodall.
Let me see what we get here.
Mars Woodall.
Yeah,
What's this right here?
he's a farmer.
Farmer.
There's
Lucy.
Lucy.
Short for
It
Lucinda.
very well could be short for Lucinda.
Wife.
And then we've got Isaac,
Philip.
Philip,
And Wilson.
Wilson.
Wilson and Isaac and Phil were the children of Mars and Lucinda. That's them.
That looks like a good match. At this point in time, in 1880, they're going in the name of Woodall.
Jackson is the family name Mars chose to use later in life. But in 1880, when Mars was a young man, the family's name is recorded as Woodall, which could be the name of his former slave owner. After the Emancipation Proclamation, many freed men and women took the last name of their former slave owners as their own.
So we're probably not going to be looking for Jackson now. It's going to be looking for a Woodall in the area right around Twiggs. Let's go on back up to...
Uh-oh, are we coming to this
We're
moment?
coming to this moment.
Who owned them?
We'll go. We're going there. We're going there. And we're going to look for a Woodall, Twiggs County, Georgia. There's a match. There's three here. What it looks like to me is man and wife right there, and their son. Well, let's go see James Woodall.
August 1860. This is the 1860 census.
So right before the Civil War breaks out. Looking for
James Woodall, farmer.
He's a farmer, and he's got a big plantation. This is the value of the property, and at that time, this is a big place. The only Woodall that we find in Twiggs County, we've got your great-great-grandfather and mother in Twiggs County.
Mars and Lucinda. That's who owned them.
I think that's very likely.